Part 37. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 361. What brother? Who is her brother? Xuanhuan also sensed something was wrong and asked immediately. The female classmate seemed to have grabbed a life-saving straw, as if as long as she proved that Xuan's identity was extraordinary, she seemed to be able to find an excuse to explain. At this moment, Xuan felt like she was facing a great enemy, and was about to interrupt immediately with a guilty conscience. But the female classmate was one step faster and said to Xuanhuan, "Don't you know? She is the sister of Senior Xuanhuan. Because Senior Xuanhuan and Suzy are good brothers, he asked Suzy to take care of Xuan." Everyone in the Qin family was stunned. Ji-Fei chuckled twice and looked at Xuan coldly. Xuan was already sweating. And Suzy didn't know what to say. Xuanhuan didn't think Xuanhuan was crazy at this time. After all, Xuanhuan had always wanted his family to adopt a daughter, and he seemed to have a good relationship with Xuan, so he just thought Xuanhuan regarded Xuan as a sister, so he said to others that she was a sister. "It doesn't make any difference to tell others that this is my sister who I get along well with." So he just complained, he doesn't care about his own sister, but treats outsiders as treasures, and even asks his own sister's boyfriend to take care of her? Is he crazy? And this complaint was like a bolt from the blue, shocking everyone to silence. "What did you say?" the female classmate said with eyes wide open. Xuanhuan was stunned, not understanding why the other party reacted so strongly. "Isn't Xuanhuan's sister Xuan?" The female classmate didn't care about anything else and shouted directly, "What do you mean? Who is Xuanhuan's sister? If it's not a sister, then Suzy's so-called sister who takes care of his brother is ridiculous. If it's a sister, why would Xuanhuan let Suzy treat his sister like this?" Xuanhuan was stunned for a moment, then said in disbelief, "What do you mean? Do you think Xuan is Xuanhuan's biological sister? Her surname is not Qin either. She is Xuanhuan's biological sister. My sister is Xuanjiexi. She has the same surname as us. You can't tell them apart." Xuanhuan then looked at Xuanjiexi. "Jiexi? What's going on? Don't people know that you are the eldest daughter of our Qin family?" Before, Xuanhuan thought that Xuanjiexi was bullied because she was low-key at school or because of her personality. But how come there are others pretending to be Xuanhuan's biological sister, while the real biological sister is regarded as a fake? Xuanjiexi probably didn't expect that people around her would have such a misunderstanding. As if she realized some possibility, her heart began to tremble and she said, "My brother told me not to reveal my identity at school." Then she looked at the beneficiary Xuan. Xuan's face couldn't be any darker at this moment. "My brother usually comes to school to visit Xuan. I don't know." Xuanjiexi didn't even dare to say her guess at this moment. Her pupils were shaking and her voice was completely dumb. She knew that her brother was partial to her. If her guess was true, how much did her brother hate her to do such a thing? "No, no. Senior Xuanhuan said that Xuan was his biological sister," someone in the pool couldn't help shouting. They couldn't be so stupid. Could they recognize the wrong sister if they had different surnames? It was because the person concerned said that they should take care of their sister more that they determined that Xuan was Xuanhuan's biological sister. "You, Suzy, we said it in front of you, didn't you agree? That's why you told us that she was a sister who took good care of her brother." "You are lying too," someone else couldn't help shouting. This time it was Suzy and Xuan's turn to be unable to stand. Suzy gritted his teeth, his face blue and purple. Xuan was even more ashamed. At this moment, the revelation of the truth made Xuanjiexi almost unable to stand for a moment. Her heart seemed to be torn apart. She had numbly accepted the fact that her brother and boyfriend liked Xuan more and chose Xuan. but why are they so cruel that they even want to deprive her of her identity? Is she so annoying? The expression on Qin Jiaxi's face suddenly became empty. This was too cruel for her. She seemed to fall into an ice cave. But the next second, there was warmth approaching. When she came to her senses, she saw Qin Rong hugging her tighter with worry, and Ji Fei also came closer and touched her head. Standing beside her were her two brothers Qin Yi and Qin Xiao. Qin Jiaxi's tears came out all of a sudden. I am Qin Jiaxi from the Qin family in Y City. Qin Jiaxi's voice was neither loud nor soft, but everyone around could hear it. She looked at Uxian. How many more things are you going to take from me? Uxian seemed to have been stepped on by her tail, and immediately argued, Jia 11, why do you say that to me? When did I take your things? Brother Xuanhuan really treats me as his own sister. What he says to others and how everyone understands it, is it something I can change? Am I going to ignore Brother Xuanhuan's care because of your concern? Here you go again, shirking the blame again. You were a chef in your previous life, right? You are so good at shirking the blame, Ji Fei complained. Yes, it's everyone else's fault, only you are not wrong, it's all others who think wrongly. Uxian was almost choked by the criticism. She really had never seen such a rich lady. She could only look at Ji Fei aggrievedly and said, if you don't believe me, you can contact Brother Xuanhuan. Anyway, Uxian knew that Xuanhuan would help her quibble. Ji Fei suddenly squinted at Uxian, haha, we will question him properly. Interesting, a sweetheart, it really is a sweetheart. This Uxian is really amazing. It seems that Xuanhuan and Suzy are not clear about each other's true relationship with Uxian. When they were watching the gossip before, Qin Chao and Qin Rong felt that Xuanhuan and Uxian had an affair. Now they saw that Uxian and Suzy also had an affair, so, damn it. Two timing. Of course, this is not the time to talk about this. The world of that female classmate has completely collapsed because of the revelation of these truths. She suddenly rushed to Suzy, grabbed his collar, and roared, it's all fake, you lied to me, you used me. Suzy had never been treated like this before, and he suddenly pushed the female classmate away, and the female classmate fell to the ground in a very embarrassed manner. What nonsense, all this, is a misunderstanding. Suzy still refused to admit it. How could he admit that he was so despicable? But the female classmate suddenly burst into laughter, and when she looked up again, her eyes were already covered with tears. She pointed at Suzy and said, do you think I'm an idiot? I know why you only confessed your love to Qin Jiaxi so loudly. It's all fake. You used Qin Jiaxi as a shield to deal with us because you knew we would take action against your girlfriend. If her identity is not good enough, we would definitely bully her to the end. So you used Qin Jiaxi as a target and refused to admit her identity, just to secretly have a secret relationship with Uxian. After The Wife of a Wealthy Family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 362. It's one thing to feel unbearable, but for the male god she has admired for many years to be so despicable and shameless is as disgusting as making her swallow a fly, not to mention that he designed an innocent girl like this just to protect his beloved woman. Even she is not ashamed of her behavior. The female classmate pointed angrily at the two of them, you didn't want your baby to be hurt, so you pushed Qin Jiaxi to the forefront. Suzy, you are so cruel and despicable. How could you be such a person? You clearly know that Xuanhuan has deceived everyone and made everyone misunderstand their identities, but you still do this. Aren't you afraid that we will kill Qin Jiaxi? Yes, if Suzy didn't dare to openly fall in love with Uxian due to status issues, and chose someone with a higher status as a target, it wouldn't be so bad. But because of Xuanhuan's slutty moves, the two people's identities were reversed in the eyes of everyone. Suzy still did this, which was simply a disregard for Qin Jiaxi's life and death. This kind of behavior was worse than an animal. When the Qin family members heard this, they were already trembling with anger. This is just too bullying. Suzy didn't expect that his thoughts would be completely exposed by this person. With a look of shame and anger on his face, "You are talking nonsense, shut up." "Suzy, do you still want to think that we are fools now?" the female classmate roared. "You are right, I will target the person you like, as you wish, from now on, Xuan will wait. How dare you play with me like this? If I can't touch you, why can't I touch her? You." Suzy was furious, and just as he was about to warn, he heard Qin Jiaxi's voice. "After all, I still felt guilty. At this moment, I couldn't help but tremble when I heard that soft voice. Why me? What grudge do I have against you? Do you want to harm me like this?" Qin Jiaxi finally couldn't help but ask. Suzy faced Qin Jiaxi and wanted to deny it, but he was really speechless. After all his underwear had been taken out. He had never been so embarrassed. This situation was really driving him crazy. When Ji Fei heard this, something flashed through her mind, but now that there were too many melons, she really couldn't find the time to check anything else, so she didn't think much about it. Faced with Qin Jiaxi's question, Ji Fei gave the most direct answer. "It's ridiculous, probably because you are from the Qin family," Ji Fei said. "Because the Su family wants to marry the Qin family," Qin Yuda said. Qin Chao sneered and said, "Oh, that's it? It doesn't matter if the people in the school don't know, but the people in the circle know who is the pearl and who is the fisheye. Of course he has to put on a show to his family, lest his family know that he is with the fish. The fish eyes are mixed together, and then they take action to deal with the fish eyes. They are really infatuated and protect the fish eyes in all aspects." Choosing Qin Jiaxi was probably Suzy's only choice. He was really a cruel scumbag. So what the Grove said is probably to wait until the fish eyes really turn into pearls, then they can change their girlfriends. At that time, the Su family will also distinguish who has a higher status in the Qin family. If Qin Han takes over Mr. Qin, the power of the Sanjia family, Xuan might really surpass Qin Jiaxi, then it would really be like a fish's eyes compared to a pearl. Every time they said something, Suzy felt as if someone was taking off a layer of his clothes. His thoughts were laid bare for everyone to laugh at, and he couldn't stay any longer. "Whatever you think, I will be clean myself," Suzy said bravely. "If you don't believe it, then let's break up." And Xuan, who is said to be a fisheye, naturally cannot control the resentment in his heart. In fact, she was somewhat hoping that Suzy would admit it generously and save some dignity at least, but she was still disappointed. She knew that Suzy wanted to think it over before handling it. After all, the incident happened suddenly today. They can only retreat temporarily and think of ways to deal with it. But when Suzy said this, Ji Fei and the others all laughed. The mocking voice simply slapped them in the face. Suzy turned around and left. But he heard Qin Jiaxi shout, "Wait a minute." Suzy's heart moved, and he thought it was Qin Jiaxi who couldn't bear it after all. As a result, as soon as he turned around, he was slapped hard. Suzy was hit to the side of his head. He was shocked and then furious. He turned to look back and saw Qin Jiaxi, who was usually submissive, raised his other arm and slapped Xuan next to him. Xuan was also stunned. After all, she was the only one who bullied Qin Jiaxi. There was no chance for Qin Jiaxi to fight back. Even though she had indeed been wronged by Qin Jiaxi for beating her, she had never really suffered it. Because of Qin Jiaxi's actions, Suzy was stunned for a moment, but he didn't want to receive Qin Jiaxi's second slap. Xuan, who was about to get angry, was stunned when she saw Suzy received a second slap, so she gave Qin Jiaxi another chance and received her second slap. The sound of these 4 slaps drowned out everyone's discussion. Everyone stared blankly at the weak and bully Qin Jiaxi. And because Qin Jiaxi would never do such a thing normally, she was out of breath after being slapped 4 times. Ji Fei shook his head and tsked twice, tisk, 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 how can this be enough? Qin Jiaxi finished the spanking with tears in her eyes. After the spanking, she breathed evenly and then exhaled, feeling that her whole body was smooth. You dare to hit me, Suzy finally reacted, and as he spoke, he seemed to be about to rush over. Xuanhuan also covered her face and looked at Qin Jiaxi fiercely. Qin Jiaxi said with a tigerish face, "You treat me like this, what's wrong with me beating you? If you dare to bully me again in the future, I will fight with all my strength." Perhaps because she had no one to protect her, Qin Jiaxi instinctively thought of fighting to the death. "Why does our sister need to fight to the death?" Qin Yi smiled and stepped forward, punching Suzy without waiting for his reaction, knocking him staggering. He was a little weak after all, and shook his hand in pain after the punch, bullying the eldest daughter of our Qin family. "Do you think we are dead? If we are bullied and let our sister fight to the death, doesn't it make us brothers look like shit?" After Qin Chao finished his indirect criticism, he kicked Suzy in the stomach without waiting for Suzy to react to the pain from the previous round. Suzy really fell hard this time. He was stunned and couldn't react for a while. He looked up and saw 2 brothers standing in front of Qin Jiaxi, as if saying, "You bully someone's sister like this? Don't you think that 2 slaps can end everything? They are the Qin family of Y City, do they need to consider before beating you?" It seems that Xuanhuan gave him an illusion, making him feel that there is no price to pay for treating the Qin family's girl like this. At this moment, Suzy didn't dare to resist at all, because he knew in his heart that if he really clashed with the Qin family, his parents at home would tear him apart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After The Wife of a Wealthy Family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 363. It was also the misunderstanding given by Xuanhuan's mother and son. Xuanhuan never expected that someone would really protect Qin Jiaxi to this extent. At this moment, Yu felt guilty and couldn't help but want to retreat. Although Qin Chao and Qin Yi don't hit women, and Qin Rong is not good at it, Ji Fei has many nicknames related to slapping. And she already had itchy hands. But the female classmate didn't give Ji Fei a chance to take action. She rushed over and kept her word. A slap knocked Xuanhuan down, he sat on her body and slapped her repeatedly. Xuanhuan's cheeks swelled visibly. Xuanhuan screamed and tried to resist, but was beaten even worse. Normally there would be people helping out, but now everyone just watched the fun. Qin Chao still remembered the mission and shouted directly at the people in the pool, "Don't think that you are innocent just because you were deceived. You are bullying and snatching the bracelet is not over yet here, pick it up quickly." Just like that, the hard work of picking up beads continued in the pool, and there was no time to watch the grand fight over there. However, after picking up all the beads, there was still one missing. They were scratching their heads anxiously, worried that they had fallen into the water-changing hole. Some people kept diving down to check the situation. They were all embarrassed and worried, and almost cried. And because of the tragic situation here, more and more people were watching. Ji Fei and others didn't want to be watched. Anyway, they had done everything they could, so it would be better to take Qin Jiaxi to change clothes first. Qin Chao stepped forward and pretended that he had found the last bead, and threatened him again before leaving with everyone. But they didn't know that after they left, Suzy immediately went to save Xuanhuan. After all, he was still his sweetheart and felt very distressed. Then he vented his anger and warned the people around him. If you dare to talk about what happened today, don't blame me for being rude. In fact, how can this kind of thing stop everyone from talking about it? It's just a matter of time. But both Suzy and Uxian knew that as long as their client refused to admit it and those people did not explain it publicly, they could still confuse right and wrong. After all, Xuanhuan would never admit that Qin Jiaxi was his sister in school under any circumstances. Others are nothing more than rumors. But they take it too much for granted. If a female classmate dares to hit her, she will be beaten. Even if she doesn't have any evidence, there are always people around who secretly record her. After the female classmate cried angrily, they began to offer a reward for the video. Those who secretly recorded it did not dare to publish it to show off due to Suzy's pressure, but they could still sell it to the female classmate. So a devastating exposure is about to set off a bloody storm in the university's exclusive forum. Of course, the female classmate also knew that the group of people today could not afford to offend her, and she did not want her own ugliness to be exposed, so she only cut out the part that exposed the adultery of the two people, as well as the whole story of Xuanhuan's identification of the fake sister, and even thoughtfully gave Jifei and others put in the code. At the same time, Uxian had already negotiated with Suzy and refused to admit it to the outside world. Then Uxian called Xuanhuan, who was coming to the school to give a speech, and cried, complaining that she had been implicated and bullied and beaten because of the bracelet. For this kind of thing that brought dirty water to Qin Jiaxi, Uxian was able to catch it and sued other members of the Qin family. After all, she had already keenly discovered that Xuanhuan didn't like those relatives, so Uxian had no burden to slander, and still it can be implicated that the Qin family deliberately suppressed her because they did not want to adopt her. Xuanhuan was so angry that he almost went crazy when he saw the photo sent by Uxian with slap marks on his face. He felt that Qin Jiaxi's wings were stiff. While other relatives were here, he looked for others to support him in dealing with his own family, and ignored his brother. It was like turning his elbows outward. Xuanhuan cursed and wanted to call Qin Jiaxi, but no one answered. At this time, Jifei and Qin Yi were accompanying Qin Jiaxi to the girls' bathhouse, while Qin Chao and Qin Rong went outside to buy clothes for Qin Jiaxi. When Qin Chao and Qin Rong came to deliver clothes, they heard Qin Yi calling third uncle Qin to complain. After all, Qin Yi is still the eldest brother and sister here, so he must come forward in this matter. When Qin Yi faced the elders, his tone was already very bad, and he told everything Xuanhuan and Suzy had done to Qin Jiaxi. The last sentence came, "Uncle, if we hadn't come here on a whim and bumped into each other by chance, I don't know what would have happened to Jiaxi. I thought this girl was a bit autistic before, but now I finally understand. After suffering so much I feel wronged. How can I not be autistic without anyone to support me? Third uncle, do you not care if Jiaxi is bullied like this by her brother and her boyfriend? If she doesn't tell you, do you just pretend that you don't know? Anyway, we are in Y City, and I, the oldest and most idle brother, will help you take care of Jiaxi. Anyway, Xuanhuan doesn't want to be Jiaxi's brother." What he said was like slapping Uncle San in the face. Qin Chao and Qin Rong smiled happily after hearing this. The third uncle deserves to be scolded, and he deserves to be criticized by the younger generation. Look at the son he raised and the stupid things he did. The third uncle also thought about how Xuanhuan would follow Qin Xian in the future. How could it be possible? Based on what he was doing now, even if Qin Xian didn't say it clearly, Xuanhuan was already out of the power center of the Qin family. It is estimated that Qin Xian would rather cultivate side branches than others. Cultivate this cousin. In the lounge of the Qin group branch, it was time to rest. Except for Qin Chao, who was not here, the other Qin family members were there. From the moment Uncle Qin received the call, he remained motionless. Qin Yi didn't speak so loudly about his own affairs. In the quiet lounge, everyone probably heard some key information. Qin Xian had naturally learned about the incident from the conversation with his wife. He did not expect that these people really treated the Qin family girl as a fool. Watching the video sent by his wife. Although they have been taught a lesson, they have bullied GXC for a whole year and caused great psychological damage to GXC. It cannot be easily exposed. Qin Xian looked up at his uncle, who was getting darker and darker and full of low pressure. He replied to his wife. "Don't worry, I will leave it to my uncle and let him handle it." "Ji Fei, will he?" "Qin Xian, he will." At this time, Uncle Qin was like the calm before the storm. Naturally, he was angry not because Qin Yi was rude to him as an elder, but because of the horrifying things he heard. Even if the target was his own son, Uncle Qin chose to believe Qin Yi's words at the first time. Uncle Qin San spoke only after listening to Qin Yi's complaint. The first thing he asked was, "Jia 11, how is she now?" Qin Yi paused for a moment before speaking. Ji Fei and the others helped her change clothes. "Jia 11 should be fine." She decisively broke up and faced it bravely. Uncle Qin San breathed a sigh of relief and then spoke, "Thanks to you this time. Don't worry, my daughter, I will definitely not let her suffer any more grievances." After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 364. Uncle Qin didn't argue, Qin Jiaxi didn't tell, so he didn't know anything. He understood that as a father, he was derelict in his duty by not noticing anything unusual about his daughter and not taking the initiative to inquire about it. Not to mention that the other son took the lead in making his daughter feel wronged, and it was because he failed to discipline her well. When did his son start to become such a thing? He couldn't tell the difference between right and wrong, and he couldn't tell whether he was close or distant. I originally wanted to have a nice talk with my daughter, but knowing that the other party wouldn't be able to pick up the phone for a while, I ended the call decisively and called Xuanhuan instead. In the lounge, Qin Wenqiang and the fourth family were there. Everyone looked at each other and wanted to gossip, but it was hard to interrupt. Soon, Xuanhuan answered the phone. "Dad, I was just looking for you. Let me tell you." Xuanhuan was about to complain when he heard his father's almost chilling voice. "Let me ask you, did you ask Jiaxi not to reveal her identity in school? You also told the outside world that Yuxian was your biological sister? You allowed everyone in the university to misunderstand their identities and bully Jiaxi. What? You want to change to a biological sister? Have you asked me if I agree?" Uncle Qin has always been calm and self-possessed, but this is the first time he roared so fiercely. The fourth uncle on the side whispered to several children, "It's rare to see third brother so angry." Everyone was immediately filled with wonder. Qin Wenqiang couldn't help but ask her biological brother. Qin Xiao and Qin Jing couldn't help but ask for gossip because they had played with Ji Fei and the others before. Qin Chao and Qin Rong had time to spread the word among the group about the stupid things Xuanhuan had done. But Xuanhuan didn't think he was stupid. Even if he was questioned by his father, he felt not guilty but even more angry. What? She beat someone, and she dared to complain first. Isn't it just because I bought Yuxian a similar bracelet, which made other students misunderstand that they would trouble her, so she could bully Yuxian in turn? Dad, look, she dares to bully others even if she conceals her identity. If she were to reveal her identity, she wouldn't know how to bully others. I just want to discipline her to let her do this. In Qin Han's eyes, Qin Jiaxi has been bullying Yuxian. If he and his mother hadn't been able to intimidate her a little, he might have been able to do this. Don't look at her usually pretending to be pitiful, as if someone bullies her, she is doing it for us to see. What kind of bullying? If she has no problem, how can others target her? There are so many people I can't stand her. Doesn't it prove that there is something wrong with her? As a brother, I can't take good care of her. As for the fact that Uxin is my sister, so what if I told her? Uxin is destined to become a member of our family. It doesn't matter if I tell her in advance that she is my sister. If you want to blame it, blame Qin Jiaxi for why she insists on marrying Uxin. Uxin is an orphan and is already very pitiful. If I take more care of her, Qin Jiaxi will be jealous and destroy her. She is obviously petty. What nonsense are you talking about? Don't you know that your sister was bullied mainly because of that brat Suzy? Because Jiaxi's identity was not disclosed, others looked down upon her and thought she was not good enough for Suzy, so they bullied her. And the culprit of this situation is you, idiot. Xuanhuan was stunned. Obviously he didn't know the specifics, but he still didn't understand. Dad, you believe this too? I heard that Jiaxi was very noisy today, and she was clamoring to break up because Suzy didn't help her, and even slandered Uxin, who came over to persuade her, and slandered their relationship. She was obviously the one who asked Suzy to take care of Uxin, but she could use it to make trouble. It's really sick. Uncle Qin was obviously so angry at his stupid son's stubborn head that he could hardly breathe. He was so frightened that Mr. Qin quickly came over to help pat his back. Why are you so cruel to your own sister and so kind to an outsider? Uncle Qin couldn't help but ask confusedly. Xuanhuan said matter-of-factly, I am clearly disciplining my sister. If I am not strict, I am afraid that she will take detours. Moreover, Uxin is not an outsider. No matter what you and Jiaxi say, my mother and I both recognize Uxin. We must adopt Uxin, even if Jiaxi tries to be clever and leads other Qin family members to target Uxin. This will only make us more determined to adopt Uxin. In the past, Third Uncle Qin could still suppress Xuanhuan, but during this time, Third Uncle Qin got close to Qin Xian and completely ignored his son, causing resentment to bubble up in his heart. In addition, Uxin expressed some sympathy for him. Believing what he said, he felt that his father was old and confused, so he didn't respect Uncle Qin even more. Go home. I'll settle things with you later. Uncle Qin obviously has no patience to argue with Xuanhuan anymore. He doesn't mind taking action against his son who can't make sense. And he felt that his wife probably had a problem with this matter, and he had to go back and question her clearly. Xuanhuan didn't take it seriously. After all, Uxin had just suffered such a great injustice. If Qin Jiaxi wanted her own identity, it would depend on whether he agreed or not. Dad, I don't want to quarrel with you. You are too partial to Jiaxi. I hope you can calm down and think clearly. Can you just let Jiaxi go on like this? Our Qin family doesn't need a young lady with such a bad character. Tell us. It's embarrassing. I won't tell you anymore. I have other things to do and I'll go home in the evening. After saying these nonsense words, Xuanhuan hung up the phone directly. At this time, Third Uncle Qin was so angry that his vision went dark. He was so frightened that Fourth Uncle Qin hurriedly found antihypertensive medicine for his brother. Uncle Qin seemed to be depressed all of a sudden. How did I raise such a son? What's the reason for this? Uncle Qin murmured. Isn't your son raised by your wife? Fourth Uncle Qin couldn't help complaining. He didn't like this third sister-in-law anyway. His own wife had said before that this third sister-in-law had a bad character and was not worthy of the third brother. The third brother was blind and married a wife like this. He is afraid that the family will be uneasy in the future. He didn't believe it before, but now he really sees it. A good son is raised to be so rebellious, and a good daughter is also wilted. What a sin! Third Uncle Qin was only depressed for a while. His son's incident will teach him a lesson later, and there is another one. He turned directly to Qin Xian and said, recently, the Su family and our family are willing to cooperate. I can't let them bully my daughter like this. After all, Qin Xian is the head of the family. If he wants to take revenge and go back, the impact will be very big, so Uncle Qin must inform him. If Qin Xian or others are not willing, he is willing to make up for it in exchange. No matter what, he must give his daughter a bad breath. That bastard Suzy dared to play with his daughter like this. This is absolutely not allowed. This time I must support my daughter to the end. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 365. Qin Xian nodded and said, "Of course our family cannot be bullied, but there is no need to terminate the cooperation. Third uncle can contact the current head of the Su family and say frankly that cooperation is okay, but Suzi's lineage is not good. If you want to cooperate with us, just if someone from their family never cooperates, it will make our young lady angry." Uncle Qin was stunned, and the others were instantly impressed when they thought about it. What's the point of just terminating cooperation and causing both sides to lose? Maybe the Su family still shares the same hatred, and then Suzy won't get the biggest lesson. He remembered that the reason Suzy could be groomed as an heir now was because of the possibility of marrying into their family. The Su family is huge and the struggle is fierce. Currently, Suzy's father has the advantage because he has a son who is pretty good and is in contact with the Qin family. If it disappears, the rest of the Su family will not be able to fight for the opportunity and desperately surround and suppress Suzy and his son. And Suzy's father is not the only son. Because of his son's mistakes, he has suffered so much pressure and loss. You can only imagine what kind of life Suzy will have in the Su family in the future. They wanted to let Suzy know that Qin Jiaxi was not a girl he could play with or take advantage of. If you dare to bully others, you must be prepared to suffer cramps and broken bones. It also means that the news was released incidentally. People in the upper circles of Y City all know that Qin Jiaxi is a transparent existence, but they are angry about Jiaxi this time, just to let everyone see clearly, not to mention Jiaxi's easy to get along with, her personality soft, but the Qin family is Qin Jiaxi's eternal support. If you want to get married, be careful when it comes to love. If you dare to make Jiaxi feel a little wronged, just give it a try. Qin Xian's move paved the way for Qin Jiaxi in the future. Uncle Qin understood it immediately. He was stunned because he didn't expect Qin Xian to think so much about a sister he didn't know well. Before, the elders gathered together and were worried about whether Qin Xian would be too cold-hearted. Now look, this child is warm-hearted, but he just doesn't show it. As long as he shows it, the next generation of the Qin family will see it. Title is their biggest supporter. Sure enough, the juniors present looked at Qin Xian with admiration and emotion. Without saying anything, third uncle Qin made a phone call to the head of the Su family. He directly explained the substitution of cooperation, otherwise all cooperation would be suspended. The reason was that their Suzy not only cheated on her, but also used her to tease Qin Jiaxi for more than a year. This was not something the Qin family could tolerate. If the other party doesn't change people, then they will have to change partner companies. Although the head of the Su family is not a soft persimmon, after hearing the cause and effect, seeing his father being so angry, and also hearing about the recent arrival of Qin Xian, it is obvious that this matter was approved by the head of the family. I originally wanted to hold an engagement ceremony for Suzy while the young head of the Qin family was here, so that I could get close to this young and promising new head of the house. However, such a scandal happened. Now the head of the Su family is really worried about this. The unworthy descendants are filled with rage. Don't worry, we will definitely give your Jiaxi an explanation. We are family friends, so we didn't completely fall out. We still cooperate to give you face. We don't need any explanation. Just let Suzy and his little lover stay away from our home in Jiaxi, Uncle Qin said unceremoniously. The other party could only apologize a few words. After hanging up the phone, he immediately called Suzi's father and gave him a scolding. This made Suzi's father blush, and he cursed Suzi in his heart. Suzi's father wanted to apologize to Uncle Chin right away, but was stopped. If you can contact me directly, it means that you don't want to talk nonsense to you anymore. No matter how inconspicuous your daughter is, you can't humiliate her daughter like this. The Chin family and we are different. Our direct relatives are very protective. Please discipline your son well. If he causes any affairs in the future, the Su family will not be able to withstand the trouble. We will apologize to you in the name of the Su family. Just leave it alone. As long as the head of the Su family knows that the cooperation will not be broken, it will be fine. Whoever takes over can do it. It has never been the Suzi family, so naturally they will not want them to bother others anymore, in case they become more popular and they will not be able to offend them. Good. So I thought that was the end of it. But hearing these arrangements in Suzi's father's ears was as shocking as being deprived of the crown prince's position in ancient times. After leaving the office in despair, he immediately called Suzi angrily and scolded him harshly. Suzi, who was still comforting Xuanhuan, turned pale when he heard his father's call. He probably had become accustomed to ignoring Qin Jiaxi and forgot that the breakup might cause trouble with his elders. After all, when the two of them were together, they never discussed matters between the two families. Over time, Suzi forgot how much benefit he had received from being his boyfriend. Do you have any humming brains? Do you dare to do such a thing? If you want to raise a little lover, you should coax Qin Jiaxi well. Who do you think you are? You dare to play tricks and take advantage of others. How come I didn't know you are so stupid? Okay, now you still want to be the heir? Are you dreaming about it? If your family fails in the future, it will be your fault. Suzi wanted to make a quibble, but his father didn't give him the chance and hung up. Suzi threw his phone angrily. How dare she complain? She did it so cruelly, I was even beaten, and she still. Xuanhuan looked at the message Xuanhuan sent her, and her whole body trembled with anger. Qin Jiaxi never complained in the past, but now she is able to do so. Fortunately, Xuanhuan is still on her side. Xuanhuan pulled Suzi's sleeve and cried, "Why is Jia 11 like this? She obviously likes you. If she can't get you, does she want to destroy you?" Suzi gritted his teeth and responded immediately, "I underestimated her. She actually tried to control me in this way. I originally wanted to coax her back and use her for a while, but now I won't coax her anymore. I want to see if she really has the guts to let me go. She is so obsessed with me and only relies on me. If she doesn't come to me to ask for forgiveness and doesn't let her father explain it to our family, I will definitely not forgive her." Xuanhuan's eyes changed. Although she knew that Suzi would not admit her so quickly, and she also knew that she shouldn't be together with Suzi so quickly, after all, she was still lying to Xuanhuan, but she still felt very uncomfortable in her heart. After dealing with the Su family, Uncle Qin San got the video of those who bullied his daughter from Qin Xian, so he could identify their identities and deal with them one by one. Looking at his daughter standing wet in the fountain pool, his blood pressure rose again. Uncle Qin was very grateful for everything everyone had done for Jiaxi. As he didn't have much to do in the afternoon, he wanted to pick Jiaxi up in person, apologize sincerely, and then invite everyone to dinner. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After The Wife of a Wealthy Family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 366. Qin Jiaxi has recovered her spirit and led everyone to taste the youthful delicacies of the campus snack street. In fact, Qin Jiaxi's eyes were swollen, like walnuts. It is estimated that she cried bitterly while taking a bath. Now her smile is very clear. Obviously, she has been relieved in part. It cannot be said that she doesn't care at all. It can only be said that she will not be depressed anymore with courage. After eating dessert, Qin Yi asked, "Where are you going in the afternoon? Are you still going to visit the campus?" Qin Rong said, "I will listen to Jiexi." Qin Jiexi paused and remembered that she had something to do in the afternoon. Because Qin Han was going to give a speech at their college, as an outstanding graduate and a representative of the Qin group, he came to encourage students. Originally, it was okay to go to the crowded speech, but because Qin Jiexi was a student of the direct college discipline, the instructor told her to be present. But now, she didn't want to face Qin Han at all. Anyway, looking at those crazy calls and messages, she knew that the other party had heard Uxin's complaint. She didn't want to be criticized. Being able to face Suzi's counterattack didn't mean she could face Qin Han's counterattack. After all, he was her brother who grew up with her, and his deterrent power was stronger. She didn't have the courage to face the reality that her brother didn't really love her, and would rather have Uxin be his sister. She still wanted to escape from this. Thinking of this, she was about to secretly ask for leave, pretending that nothing happened, and take everyone to play somewhere else. Just then, she passed by two female classmates who were having a heated discussion. "It's confirmed. The person who will give a speech this afternoon is really Senior Qin Han, the eldest son of the Qin family. He is so handsome and capable. He was very popular in the school before. Unfortunately, he graduated long ago when I entered the school. Otherwise, I would definitely pursue him. I heard that he is still single now. He is a crazy sister-loving man. Oh, I have heard of her. Is that Uxin? I often see Senior Qin Han picking her up. I am so envious that I can be his sister. Uxin is also very approachable and very easy to get along with. Maybe we can see brother and sister in the same frame today." The gossipy conversation made Ji Fei and the others at the table really want to vomit blood. Look at Qin Han himself. He is really a double standard. He doesn't let Qin Jiexi reveal his identity, but he and his fake sister are very high profile. And such a scumbag can still attract so many fans. Everyone really doesn't know his true face. Why hasn't it spread yet? Qin Chao asked, puzzled. Qin Yi asked, "Are you talking about what happened before?" Qin Chao nodded. "I'm also curious. Are your college classmates so gossipy?" Such big news. Ji Fei looked at Qin Jiexi unwillingly. Qin Jiexi had just heard it and felt uncomfortable. Now that everyone was curious, she didn't know what to say. She didn't know, would this kind of thing spread quickly? Ji Fei's eyes turned. Isn't this just right? I was worried that Qin Jiexi would not want to take them there before. I can't stand bad guys showing off. Why don't we go and see if Qin Han dares to be in the same frame with Uxin and let others continue to misunderstand, then we will. Ji Fei made a hand knife gesture. Qin Chao cooperated and said, "Clean up the house." Qin Yi was infected and laughed with Qin Rong. Qin Jiexi suddenly widened her eyes in confusion. After all, her mother had always taught her not to tell others about anything, to solve it at home, and it would be best not to bother her father, because she was just a small matter. Why are everyone in front of her so excited? That's a public place. We can't. If we really start a fight, it will embarrass the Qin family. Qin Jiexi is soft-hearted, and she subconsciously agrees to what everyone decides. Soon, they moved to the auditorium. It was really popular, and people even started queuing. Ji Fei was very depressed. Why did they have to queue up to see Qin Han? It was really embarrassing for Qin Han. Ji Fei complained to her husband. Qin Xian replied, "You might prefer to watch the show in the audience." Ji Fei was shocked, "Are you here?" Qin Xian, "Everyone is here." Jifei laughed, it's human nature to eat melons, so I must choose a good position. That's right, when Jifei first found out that Xuanhuan was going to show off, he sent a message to Qin Xian. He didn't want to give Xuanhuan this opportunity to show off, and he also wanted to give Qin Jiaxi a chance to prove her identity, so he thought about letting someone else replace Xuanhuan. Qin Xian said that he would definitely do what his wife wanted to do. It just so happened that what happened in the morning was exposed. Uncle San was coming to pick up his daughter. Now, they all ran into each other. Jifei was even more excited about this. After sitting in a row, Qin Chao and Qin Rong had already predicted through their hearts that there might be a good show later, and they also became excited. Qin Yi was not on the same channel, so he could only wonder if this family was going to make a big one later. Recently, after hanging out with this group of people, Qin Yi felt that he was not calm anymore, thinking about eating melons and making trouble every day. Only Qin Jiaxi was wandering in space, thinking wildly. Xuanhuan really made people wait. An hour later, the host finally came on stage to explain, and then began to let everyone applaud and warmly welcome Xuanhuan's arrival. Looking at Xuanhuan walking confidently, with a calm look, he obviously didn't know that others were here. Jifei checked it directly and was immediately disgusted. He, Suzy didn't come here. It seems that his family called him back home, so Uxian dared to be affectionate with Xuanhuan. He is really a master of time management. She arrived at the backstage in advance and cried to Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan directly hugged her in his arms to comfort her, and it was really a little red lips for the two of them. Qin Chao and Qin Rong said that they wanted to vomit, but they tried their best to hold it back. Do these two men know that they have the same woman? Xuanhuan also promised to let Uxian present flowers later, and then help her consolidate her position. Is this how you play? The female classmate who just beat people was not good enough. Why didn't she disfigure her and let her come out to hurt her eyes? Qin Chao and Qin Rong said it was a pity. Huh? Female classmate is doing this, so, oh, is it so exciting? Jifei's thoughts jumped. Qin Chao and Qin Rong almost didn't keep up, but they couldn't hear the reason. They just watched Jifei suddenly ask Qin Jiaxi for the university forum website. That was the website where Qin Yi's gossip broke out last time. It was a forum used by college students in Y City. The two were too lazy to watch Xuanhuan's speech on it. They searched silently and looked, but there was nothing for the time being. Jifei was bored and kept refreshing. They refreshed as well. Suddenly a post appeared with a familiar name. Hashtag Suzy cheated, Xuanhuan lied. Hashtag window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article feed, placement, below article feed, target. Type, mix. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Use. Chapter 367. The title is simple and clear, but it instantly became a hot post due to the popularity of the two. There are no instructions inside, just a video. I was a little worried at first, but after I clicked on it and took a look, I found that they almost didn't show their faces, and there were no scenes of beating anyone afterwards. I was temporarily relieved. Although I dared to act boldly, I didn't want to be judged on the internet. Watching the video now, I will be happy. Xuanhuan died before he left the army. Although everyone in the auditorium was listening to Xuanhuan's speech attentively, and not many people were distracted by looking at their mobile phones, once such breaking news is exposed, everyone will share it immediately, especially when they know that Xuanhuan is giving a speech here. Spread it quickly. Sure enough, not long after, students began to look down at their mobile phones in the auditorium. Because they wanted to watch videos, there were occasional noises in the auditorium. Xuanhuan, who was giving a speech above, seemed to have noticed some people playing with their mobile phones in public, and was very unhappy. He was thinking about whether to end the speech early to express his dissatisfaction and teach the people here a lesson. As a result, the host on the stage suddenly gave him a prompt and asked him to end his speech as soon as possible. Xuanhuan was immediately filled with questions as to why he was beaten to the throne by the other party. Anyway, he was unhappy, so he just broke the pot and scrawled an ending. When the applause started, he was even more angry because the applause below was fragmented and completely different from before. At this time, Qin Jiaxi also noticed that everyone around them was looking at their mobile phones, and the gazes that were constantly being passed on to them. No one noticed that the speech had ended. She had always been sensitive to sight. She felt a little uncomfortable when she was looked at like this. She nervously looked at her relatives beside her and found that they were also looking at their mobile phones. After a closer look, she suddenly with his eyes widened, he quickly took out his phone to check, and was also shocked. At this time, Xuanhuan, who was holding flowers and waiting anxiously on the side of the stage, didn't realize that something was wrong. She pinched it and rushed forward to present flowers to Xuanhuan. When Xuanhuan saw Xuanhuan coming up, his anger subsided a little. He took the bouquet and indicated with his eyes that the host could ask questions. After all, they had already greeted the host before coming up and asked him to gossip about their relationship. It turned out that the host was distracted because he just heard the prompt behind the headset that a heavyweight guest would appear later, so he asked him to end Xuanhuan's interview early and quickly enter the next stage. He was brainstorming, here are the lines I want to connect. If Xuanhuan's eyes weren't too obvious, he might still be distracted. The host turned his head and looked at Xuanhuan, who looked unhappy, and Xuanhuan, who looked embarrassed. Only then did he remember this small task and quickly perfunctory it. Hey, they seem to know each other very well. Could it be that she is the senior's girlfriend? Only then did Xuanhuan smile, put his arms around Xuanhuan's shoulders, and said generously in front of so many students, "Don't misunderstand me, Xuanhuan is my sister. I am just such a precious sister, and I will be looking after you all in the future. Take good care of Xuanhuan at school." Xuanhuan instantly breathed a sigh of relief and held her head high. She knew that even if there was a conflict in the morning, as long as Xuanhuan personally admitted it now, any struggle of Qin Jiaxi would be useless. Who made Xuanhuan her biological brother? However, the applause and exclamations they imagined did not appear. Instead, there were numerous discussions and chatter. The result was not at all what they expected. What a shameless guy. He really makes no sense. Ji Fei couldn't help but curse out loud. Looking at Qin Jiaxi on the side, her eyes were indifferent, but there was a coolness in her eyes. Although she had expected it, she still felt a dull pain in her heart after hearing that her brother only admitted Xuanhuan. Just a baby sister? How could he say it? Are you so annoying to him? You are not born as brothers and sisters, it's him who is unlucky, Qin Yuda said. Qin Chao smiled and said, we have nothing to do with him either. Qin Rong nodded and said, yes, we only recognize you as our sister. Ji Fei laughed directly, and then said, don't be discouraged, keep reading. At this time, the two people on the stage already felt that something was wrong. At this moment, the host invited, by the way, I have a surprise for everyone today. In fact, there are even more important guests coming to teach you. Come, let us invite the current Qin International Y District President, Mr. Qin. In an instant, the whole place was in an uproar. Isn't this Mr. Qin Xuanhuan's father? The current most valuable man in Y City. Why do father and son appear together today? Looking at Xuanhuan and Xuanhuan's surprised expressions, it doesn't look like they are pretending. Didn't they know this before? Hey, have you seen the post on the forum? I suspect that Mr. Qin's visit is related to the post. Why do I always feel like there will be something good to watch? Real or fake wealthy daughter? Is this a melon that I can eat with my own mouth? To be honest, just because of the last name, I choose to believe Qin Jiaxi. And I can't see Xuanhuan and Uxin clearly. Nonsense, Uxin is clearly having an affair with Suzy. Eh? Watson, you found a blind spot. Ji Fei raised his eyebrows in surprise. After all, the original plan was for Qin Xian to come on stage, but he didn't expect that his third uncle would come directly. That's fine, let him teach his idiot son a lesson himself. Looking at Qin Jiaxi, he was stunned and even began to suspect that he was hallucinating. Until a familiar and stalwart figure walked onto the stage. The other Qin family members are already very excited. After all, this development is really exciting. I guess their elders really saw what kind of person their son was this time. To put it bluntly, what Xuanhuan said just now was to confuse the Qin family's bloodline and swap the real daughter. If Xuanhuan did this, the reputation of the Qin family would be damaged if Uxin did anything under the guise of the Qin family in the future. As children of the Qin family, they naturally have to bear the reputation of the Qin family. Xuanhuan, this fool, thought that he could give anyone an identity he wanted, which was extremely stupid. At this time, Xuanhuan looked at his father, who walked over with a calm face, and his legs began to tremble. He was not stupid, so he naturally knew that his father had heard what he said just now. He was scolded by his father for this matter when they talked on the phone before. He turned around and said this, and his father heard it, which would definitely make his father angry. But now his father's lack of anger on the surface is what makes him most panic. Because he doesn't know what kind of storm is behind that calm face. He just hopes that his father can consider the overall situation and don't let their Qin family lose face. Thinking of this, Xuanhuan felt more confident. After all, even if his father was angry, he shouldn't embarrass him on the spot. Even if he didn't agree with what he said, he wouldn't refute it on the spot. This would help Uxin instead. At worst, he would be scolded by his father when he returned. But at this time, Uxin was already panicking. After all, if such a big lie was heard by Uncle Qin, it might expose her thoughts of replacing someone else's daughter, which might be more detrimental to her entering the Qin family, so she could only force a smile and try to make everything transition smoothly. But from the moment Uncle Qin got the microphone, the situation began to gradually get out of control. Uncle Qin's hand holding the microphone was shaking slightly because of anger, but on the surface he pretended to be very well. He said directly to Uxin, "This female classmate, who are you?" As soon as these words came out, it was like several thunders and lightnings that shocked the entire auditorium. Everyone made surprised sounds. For a while, there was a rise and fall. Xuanhuan's face immediately became ferocious with anxiety. "Dad, what are you talking about?" After saying that, he desperately winked at his father, hoping that he would maintain his dignity. Uncle Qin continued, "Why did my son say that you are his sister? I don't know you, how could I not know when our Qin family had a daughter like you?" All eyes were focused on Uxin's face, making Uxin feel ashamed as if she was roasted on the fire. In an instant, her eyes were red, and this time she was not pretending. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 368. The host was also confused. He really didn't expect that a speech would have so many changes. Isn't Uxin Xuanhuan's sister? Why did Xuanhuan ask him to do this before? The poor host was busy preparing for work and had no time to listen to outside news. At this moment, he really asked instinctively, "Boss Qin, isn't Uxin your daughter?" Uncle Qin sneered, "Why? Who is my daughter? Can I admit my mistake?" "Xuanhuan, who is she? Why do you say she is your only precious sister? Have you even forgotten what your own sister looks like? If you are mentally ill, you can go to the psychiatric department. Haha, I didn't expect Uncle Qin to be so vicious. Qin Chao and Qin Rong also laughed out loud. Qin Yi also laughed and said, psychiatric department, you are right, you can't do such a thing unless you are mentally ill. Qin Jiaxi still stared blankly at her father on the stage. For the first time, she felt an umbrella holding up her head in the wind and rain. Xuanhuan was completely dumbfounded, even aggrieved, and dared not say, Dad. Although he knew his father would be angry, he didn't expect that he could expose him mercilessly in public and slap him in the face. His whole face was burning and painful, as if he had been slapped countless times. He has always been arrogant and proud, and he is also an outstanding graduate of this school and a legend among his juniors. Now, his father said in front of his admirers that he should go to the psychiatric department. What kind of bad message does this send? He dare not think about what people will say about him online in the future. Father is too cruel, how can he do this? Dad, don't joke with your son out of anger. Xuanhuan tried to make amends frantically with his broken self-esteem. As my son, you are now also working in Qin's. I hope you can be more cautious in your words and deeds in the future, and don't talk nonsense, Uncle Qin said directly. Xuanhuan was going crazy. If these words were spread, how could he manage the company in the future, and how could he walk in the circle of wealthy families? Yuxian was already in tears, as if she had suffered a great injustice. She and Xuanhuan were now like clowns for people to watch, and they wished they could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. But after Uncle Qin taught his son a lesson, he did not forget to deal with Yuxian. I don't care what your relationship with my son is, but it is not a good behavior to recognize relatives randomly. I hope you can correct your own behavior. In one sentence, Yuxian was directly sent to hell, saying that she had bad behavior and how could she be a fairy in school in the future. Everyone would spit on her. Yuxian felt like she was about to faint. Just now, the two were still complacent and thought that they had solved the problem, but now they felt like they were stripped naked and allowed to be humiliated and mocked. The discussion in the auditorium became louder and louder. Finally, someone shouted with courage, "Then Mr. Qin, who is your daughter?" Uncle Qin walked along the steps, smiled slightly, and said directly, "I do have a precious daughter who is studying in college here. I guess she is here today." The auditorium was boiling instantly. Those who just read the post already knew about it, and those who didn't know about it were also informed immediately. Until Uncle Qin called out, "Jiaxi, are you there? Come to Daddy and give a speech with Daddy." Before Qin Jiaxi could respond, she heard her relatives around her actively responding for her. "Yes, here." What happened next was like a dream for Qin Jiaxi. Every step was not implemented, and it felt very unreal. Xuanhuan and Yuxian were taken off the stage by the staff. Uncle Qin put away his cold breath and showed all his tenderness to take care of his daughter, who was called to the stage. While asking Qin Jiaxi about her studies in school, he accepted the interview and cooperated very well. Until the end of the speech. Uncle Qin took Qin Jiaxi's hand and held his arm. The father and daughter accepted the applause of everyone present, took a photo with the leaders, and then said to the leaders generously, "This is my daughter Qin Jiaxi. Please take care of her in the future." The leaders greeted them warmly, almost engraving Qin Jiaxi's name and appearance into their minds. The gossips of the students who left the auditorium were so loud that they could be heard throughout the campus. The posts that had been questioned before were instantly replied to by these students, which simply put the ironclad evidence in the faces of all the doubters. Finally, everyone believed the almost absurd video. Xuanhuan did not recognize his biological sister, but a fake sister, and even allowed the fake sister to bully his biological sister at school. Suzy was even more funny. In order to have an underground relationship with the fake daughter, he deceived the feelings of the real daughter, tricked her into being a target, and continued to use pua and cold violence, allowing the school bullying caused by him to fall on the real daughter. Naturally, everyone will not forget Xuan, the beneficiary behind the scenes who seemed to have done nothing but was done by others. Xuan's reputation as a white lotus and a scheming bitch has been completely established. She can trick her biological brother and boyfriend into only revolving around herself, and she shamelessly does not deny her identity. Does she really think everyone is an idiot and can't see that there is something wrong with her? I can only say that the worst person in the whole situation is Qin Jiaxi, who is definitely a big victim. Everyone sympathized with this young lady, and even began to pity and love her. After all, the young lady could get to this level, which showed how easy it was for her to be bullied. Everyone felt that she should be well protected. Unconsciously, Qin Jiaxi began to have an invisible guard team. But now Qin Jiaxi was still in a daze. It was not until the exposed questioning voice of his brother came from the backstage that everything was brought back to reality. "Is it you? You asked Dad to come. You are so scheming. It's not enough to bully Xuan in the morning. Now you want to destroy me and Xuan. How can you be so vicious, you?" Seeing Xuanhuan rushing over to hit him, Qin Jiaxi didn't dodge, but subconsciously wanted to cover his head. This subconscious look made Uncle Qin-san burst into anger. He raised his foot and kicked Xuanhuan, who rushed over directly. "You rebellious son. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After The Wife of a Wealthy Family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 369. Xuanhuan's fall directly knocked over the debris in the background and screamed repeatedly. Xuan was frightened at the sight. Jifei and others were also brought backstage by Qin. A group of people were stunned, but no one stepped forward to stop or persuade them. They were all watching the show. Fourth Uncle Qin also clicked his tongue and said, although third brother is very fierce, he really doesn't know how to hit people. Xuanhuan really went too far this time. Not just this time. Yes, we all saw the post. The twins complained to their father. Qin Xian hugged Jifei and whispered all the follow-up arrangements made by Qin Sansu to satisfy his wife's desire. Jifei was very satisfied after hearing this. This was how Suzy should be, no matter how self-righteous he was, he really thought he was a piece of cake. Hey, Suzy is also being beaten now. He and Xuanhuan are indeed good brothers who share blessings and hardships in every sense of the word. After Qin Sansu kicked Xuanhuan, he was still out of breath. He stepped forward and said coldly to Xuanhuan, "This is how you treat your brother. How did you become like this? Let me tell you clearly today, what exactly are you going to do?" Originally, he wanted to go home and deal with it slowly, but today he saw his stupid son acting like this with his own eyes. He really couldn't bear it anymore. Xuanhuan had never been beaten like this by his father. He was in a daze. Xuan quickly stepped forward to help him up. Then he said to Uncle Qin, "Uncle, this is all a misunderstanding. Brother Xuanhuan just regards me as his sister. We didn't bully Jiaxi. Although I don't know what Jiaxi told you, I respect you very much. I am an orphan, without a father or a mother. I have long regarded you and my aunt as me in my heart. Classmate Xuan, our own affairs have nothing to do with you. Put away your petty thoughts. I will let you know today. Our Qin family will never adopt a girl with an impure mind like you. I have a daughter. I don't need it." One more Uncle Qin interrupted coldly. Uxin's face lost all color on the spot. Dad, why do you say that? Qin Jiaxi is selfish and dark. In the past, just because my mother and I were nicer to Uxin, she jumped out and tormented Uxin. With such a character, you don't criticize her, and you are still spoiling her now. When Xuanhuan heard that Uncle Qin was so decisive in denying all possibilities, he jumped immediately. Xuanhuan must have some kind of serious illness. It's like a stress reaction. He doesn't talk nonsense when talking about him, but his heart immediately bounces when he talks about it. Oh, I know I was trained by that mysterious third aunt since I was a child to protect Uxin in any situation. With such a consciousness, no wonder I did such a ridiculous thing. In Xuanhuan's memory, Uxin was caring and considerate, while his sister was dull and boring. The question was, had he given Jiaxian interesting opportunity? Uncle Qin also laughed angrily. You said that Jiaxi is selfish and dark in front of you. Let me ask, who caused this? Are you really sincere and cheerful towards Jiaxi? How many good looks have you given to Jiaxi? You want to ask yourself. You treat Uxin better than Jia 11, so she can't be angry anymore. Besides, your mind has been biased, and what you said is somewhat true and false. I really didn't expect that you are so indifferent to right and wrong now. Is your brain full of mush? Let me tell you, I not only want to deny with your decision to adopt, no one in our family will be allowed to associate with this girl in the future. Uxin almost lost her footing, and Xuanhuan's eyes widened. Between Jiaxi and Uxin, you can only choose one. I want to see if you are so crazy that you don't even want your relatives. Uncle Qin snorted coldly. Dad, how can you be so heartless? Don't you remember that Uxin worked hard to collect medicinal foods to keep us healthy when you, mother, and I were unwell before? She cares about us every day, but Qin Jiaxi is just like a mute, unable to do anything at all. She is indifferent to our family. She is no more filial to our family than Qin Jiaxi. Just because of blood, do you prefer Qin Jiaxi? I think you are an old fool. Uncle Qin almost had a myocardial infarction. He remembered the medicinal diet. Because of that incident, he allowed Uxin to come in and out of the house to make his wife and son happy, and then gradually ignored Qin Jiaxi's feelings. He was really confused. He didn't see the other party's true face clearly, and he actually wanted to subtly replace his precious daughter. As expected, he was always attentive and either raped or stolen. Now that I think about it, it was a rational decision to give Uxin a gift in return, otherwise I would really be giving excuses to the other party now. Medicinal diet, health preservation. When Ji Fei heard this, he suddenly saw the way Qin Jiaxi hesitated to speak, and immediately felt that something was fishy. Let me check. Qin Lao's family was instantly excited. Is there another twist? But if it was true, why didn't Qin Jiaxi say it? Now that Uncle Qin is on her side, is he still so inferior and unconfident? Just when everyone was curious, Ji Fei found out. I want to curse, but I really don't know how many such things this shameless Uxin has done. The medicinal formulas were obviously obtained by Jiaxi after visiting many old Chinese medicine doctors. The compiled documents were peeped and copied by Uxin. After handing it over in one step, Qin Jiaxi thought that both of them had collected it. She was a step too late. Seeing the whole family praising Zhang Uxin, Qin Jiaxi was naturally embarrassed to take it out, making it seem like she was taking credit, so she didn't know that the other party had completely stolen it. The fruits of her labor. She didn't defend herself for a moment because she really didn't know. Qin Lao's family, are they so hateful? There is nothing more disgusting than appropriating the fruits of other people's work. But how to refute this? Qin Xian's eyes moved slightly, and he suddenly interrupted the ferocious atmosphere. Medicinal diet. Is it for Uncle San's stomach problem? Uncle Qin was angry. He was slightly stunned when he heard this. He didn't expect that Qin Xian didn't live with them, but he knew that he had stomach problems. This once again amazed him. Others also looked at Qin Xian in surprise. Uncle Qin nodded. It is indeed a good medicinal diet, very effective. Not only my stomach problems, my wife's cold body, and Qin Han's headache were cured by the medicinal diet, so I gave this girl a house in return. Dad, you are really joking. Can sincerity be exchanged for money? Qin Han said immediately. Qin Xian suddenly said to Uxian, did you spend a lot of effort to find the medicinal diet? Uxian nodded with tears in her eyes, and then looked at Qin Xian timidly. After all, it was the first time she met Qin Xian. She didn't expect that the head of the family in Qin Han's mouth was such a young and handsome man, which made her blush and nervous when she looked at him. It's a pity that such a man has married, and married such a wife who doesn't care about her image. Thinking of the grievances she suffered in the morning, Uxian immediately put on a more pitiful posture, subconsciously trying to attract the man's eyes and love. I just need it, why don't you recite it now? Qin Xian said directly. Uxian was stunned and speechless for a moment. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 370. Qin Xian said calmly, what? Can't recite it? You can recite one sheet, or part of one sheet, didn't you collect it with great effort? Uxian started to look panicked. Or tell me which book you got it from, or which old Chinese medicine practitioner, Qin Xian continued to attack mercilessly. After hearing this, Ji Fei and Qin Lao's family completely understood Qin Xian's intention. Ji Fei leaned directly into Qin Xian's arms, filled with excitement and ecstasy. Wow, my husband is great, I love him so much, he is really smart, this liar must be exposed severely. The corners of Qin Xian's lips curled up, and he held his wife in his arms without caring much about the image. As soon as my wife entered her arms, she seemed to have absorbed some comfortable breath, and her tone became a little lazy. What? You can't tell? It seems that you didn't bother too much, Qin Xian said lightly. No, I. Uxian came back to her senses and wanted to quibble. You really can't tell me a single medicine. How about the 3 prescriptions? You don't remember them at all? It's really, sincere. Ji Fei also followed Yin Yang. Qin Han immediately pulled Uxian, wondering why she didn't say anything. Ha ha ha, Qin Han didn't seem to know, and thought it was the two of them together again. It seems that in the early days, Qin Han was not so indifferent and crazy. Is it because my sister became my lover later that I became so dizzy? If I let him know the truth later, I wonder if he can still be so confident. But at this time, third Uncle Qin felt that maybe Uxian had just found her randomly, and had not recorded the demerit at all. It was just a nonsense he had said at the beginning. Anyway, he already knew that this girl was not well-intentioned, and everything else was not the point. Finally ending the topic, the daughter behind him suddenly began to slowly tell the names of the herbs. Uncle Qin was stunned and turned to look at Qin Jiaxi. Qin Jiaxi's expression was blank, and she recited the complete formulas of the 3 medicinal meals as if she was extremely familiar with them. The whole audience was silent. Qin Jiaxi looked at her father blankly. Uncle Qin was still shrewd and guessed something in an instant, and his voice almost trembled. Jiaxi, how can you memorize it? Dad will listen to what you say. Qin Jiaxi was probably aware of certain possibilities, so she just recited it in a daze. I also collected medicinal recipes during that time, and these 3 happened to be the ones I had planned to give to you. But, the next day, Uxian gave you the same recipe, so I didn't take it out again. Qin Jiaxi's voice was trembling. Damn it, no, you can recite it, but she can't recite it at all, and she is hesitant and obviously guilty. Doesn't this prove that she copied your recipe and stole your results? Qin Xiao said in shock. Qin Jing couldn't help but said to Qin Han, it turns out that your sister saved you from your headache. At this time, Xuanhuan was stunned, and then he immediately reacted and said, "Impossible, how could Uxin steal her things? She must be unwilling to recite it secretly, and then use it to frame Uxin." Qin Yi shook his head when he heard this and said, "It's hopeless." Of course Xuanhuan saw their ridicule, his face turned red, and he said to Uxin, "Uxin, don't worry, I will make the decision for you, you prove it to them." But how could Uxin prove it, because she knew that as long as she took it out, others would speak for her. Believe her, Qin Jiaxi would not suspect anything, so she didn't put any thought into it at first and left it to the housekeeper to handle the medicinal food. It's very simple to prove. Just look for the source of the plot. Anyway, we have plenty of time today. We don't mind uncovering your past misunderstandings one by one, Qin Chao mocked. Qin Rong also followed, "Okay, let's be witnesses to prevent some people from slandering Jiaxi again. Why does Uncle Qin still need to prove it?" He is now furious. He looked at Xuanhuan and Uxin almost viciously. "Okay, very good. Do you want to admit it yourself or let me check? If I find out it's you, lie and take credit from my daughter." The rest of the words were not said, but the threat was already very strong. Uxin was completely at her wits' end and actually wanted to pretend to be stunned to avoid it. As a result, before she could take action, Ji Fei suddenly said, "Don't faint at the critical moment. Even if you faint, we will call a private doctor. For today's matter, even if we have to hang an oxygen bottle for you, it needs to be verified to the end." Uxin froze, she was really going crazy, but she finally spoke tremblingly, I was wrong, I'm sorry, it was me, I saw the medicinal recipe on Jiaxi's computer. 11 had a cold relationship with her family. I thought she didn't want to take it out, so she took matters into her own hands. I wanted to help her ease the relationship at home, but I didn't expect that my aunt and brother Xuanhuan misunderstood me when I took it out. I just wanted to. I want to get closer to everyone. I hope everyone can like me. Seeing that Jiaxi didn't say it was hers, I thought she didn't care or didn't want to take it out at all, so, it's all my fault. It's me. Momentary greed. Whoa. Ji Fei really admired Uxin. At this juncture, she could still explain such a far-fetched situation, and even tried to throw dirty water on her. How could such nonsense be communicated to anyone? It's so damn true that some people believe it. Ji Fei was dumbfounded and looked at Xuanhuan with helpless and distressed eyes. It was almost a joy. So it's all Jiaxi's fault. Who made her not take it out immediately and gave you the opportunity to steal? Who made her not doubt your disgusting behavior and question and expose you after you pretended to claim it? Who made her be robbed by you? You don't know how to resist when you lose your family's favor. Oh my God, you are so innocent. It's all Jiaxi's fault for not understanding current affairs. As soon as Ji Fei finished speaking, the other Qin family members all laughed. Isn't that right? She was so innocent. She died innocently. She doesn't really think her statement is so innocent and pitiful. Doesn't she know that only idiots would believe it? Maybe there are some idiots out there, after all, the acting is so real. She really knows how to say it. In her words, it is the fault of Jiaxi who robbed her of the results. Everyone was talking about it, which made Xuanhuan and Uxin feel embarrassed and mad. It seemed that the tricks they used in the past could never be effective against this family. Uncle Qin was no longer too lazy to watch their acting. He pulled Qin Jiaxi directly and said, "I'm sorry, Jiaxi. It's all Dad's fault. It's Dad who didn't discover the truth. No, it's my fault. I was taken advantage of because I was too stupid." Qin Jiaxi was really wronged and finally couldn't help crying. In the past, she only really wanted to be good to her family and had no intention of taking credit. But she didn't want to be taken advantage of. She was really stupid. Uncle Chin wiped away his daughter's tears, looked at Uxian coldly and said, "You must move out of the house I gave you before 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I will ask a lawyer to handle the transfer, otherwise I will sue you for fraud."